You're looking at your grade book and you see that one student, you know the one, who hasn't turned an assignment in 10 days. Or the student who crushes every worksheet but shuts down the second you hand them a formal assessment. You want to help, but between the pacing guide, the IEP meetings, and the other 30 kids in the room, it feels like you're just shouting into a void. What if I told you that the most powerful thing you can do for your classroom data and for your classroom culture isn't a new curriculum or a fancy software? It's a 3 to 5 minute conversation. Today, we're going to talk about mini conferences. I'm going to show you how to carve out the time, what to actually say so it isn't as awkward, and how to use data to turn your students into partners instead of just participants in your classroom. We've all been there. We've all had this data, test scores, IEP progress reports, exit tickets. But to the student, that data is just a number that happens to them. It's a mystery. It's just another task they have to do. And for our multilingual learners or our students with disabilities, that mystery can feel like a barrier. They know they're struggling, but they don't always know why or how to fix it. The mini conference is how we can break down that wall. I know what you're thinking. 3 to 5 minutes per student? I've got all these students. There's no time for that. I hear you. I've been there. But here's the shift. Don't try to do it all at once. Don't try and do it all in one day. If you meet with just a few students each day, a few times a week, that's like 10 students in a week. In a typical class, you've hit everyone in about 3 weeks. This isn't a marathon. It's a steady walk. And that quick crouch down by the teacher desk or quick chat at the teacher table energy, that's where the real teaching actually happens. When you sit down or crouch next to a student, don't lead with the math. Lead with the human. I always start with one specific question. Tell me something you're proud of, and it doesn't have to be about math. This is huge. It opens the floodgates. Maybe they're proud of a level they just hit in a game or a science fair project, or maybe they can do a back handspring, or even just making it to school on time. Why does it matter to ask this question? It tells them you see them as a person, not just a test score, not just a student. It gives you relational capital. After this conversation, next week when you see them, you can ask, hey, how was that skiing trip? Or did you finish that book? Or how's that game going? Those tiny check-ins are like money in the bank. When you eventually have to deliver hard feedback about a failing grade or something not turned in, they're more likely to listen because they know you're on their team. Once you've built that bridge, it's time to look at the map. Pull up the data. Maybe it's a recent standardized test, a progress report, or even just their participation grades or the participation trends in classroom. Here's the key. Show them the screen, show them the work, show them the report. Don't just talk at them, look with them. Then ask them, what do you notice here? What trends do you see? Now, instead of saying, it looks like you're having a tough time with fractions, you can point to a standard and you can say, I see you're really strong with your multiplication facts. That's awesome. But look over here at the fractions here. I want to look at this. It looks like this might be more of a challenge for you. Does it feel that way to you too? Here's a teacher pro tip. Avoid yes or no questions though. See if you can go a little bit deeper. They're kind of the killers of conversation. You might want to reframe the question. Instead of saying, is this hard or is that hard? We can ask, why do you think this part feels more like a challenge than this part? Why do you think fractions is a little more challenging than your math facts? For our multilingual learners, this is a great time to use sentence stems. For all students, really. You might have a card on your table that says, I feel confident in, but I need more help with. You're giving them a language to advocate for themselves. However, I have to give a warning. Here's where most mini conferences fail. We say something like, okay, so we just need to work harder on this. What does that even mean? To a middle schooler, to an elementary schooler, what does work harder mean? It's just noise. We need to define what we mean when we say that. During the conference, you agree on one or two concrete actions. It could be something like, I will use the sentence frames that are on the board when I'm talking to my partner, or I will turn my work into my work folder every Friday, even if it's not 100% done, or maybe I will ask one question during the whole group lesson. Now, when you see them in class tomorrow, you aren't just hovering. You're checking in on the specific goal that they helped set. You can say, hey, I saw you use that sentence frame today. That's exactly what we talked about. Nice work. Look, I've worked with students and teachers in grades kindergarten all the way up through high school, even up into college. This right here is the #1 change maker. It doesn't have to be a perfect scripted meeting in a quiet office. It could be a 3-minute chat while the rest of the class is doing a warm-up. The magic isn't the data points, isn't the perfection. The magic is the student thinking, my teacher knows who I am, they know what I'm good at, and they have a plan to help me with the hard stuff. When a student feels this, When a student feels seen, they show up differently. So here's my challenge to you for tomorrow, for next week. Pick 3 students, just 3. Find a moment during independent work or a center rotation, crouch down and ask what they're proud of, and show them one piece of data. See how that conversation changes your dynamic for the rest of the week. If you try this, drop a comment below. I want to hear the proud of moments your students shared. Those are always my favorite part of the day. And if you found this helpful, hit that subscribe button, hit that follow button. I'm all about practical do it tomorrow strategies for the real world classroom. Thanks for all you do with your kids. I'll see you in the next one.